She had stopped counting. The appointments, the treatments, the particular hope that arrived every month and left every month for 7 years. 7 years. She had a word for it now. Not the medical word. She had learned the medical word so thoroughly that it had lost its edges, become simply information, a fact she carried rather than a wound she had. The word she had was quieter than that. Done. She was done hoping for the thing that was not going to happen. She had closed the room at the end of the hall. Yellow walls, a crib, the specific stillness of somewhere that had been waiting and had finally been told to stop. She had closed the door on a Tuesday morning and had not opened it in 11 months. Then on a Wednesday afternoon someone knocked. She opened the door. A man, perhaps 35. Simple clothes, a CV in one hand, and beside him, 2 children. A girl, perhaps 4 years old, dark curls, a stuffed elephant under one arm. And a boy, perhaps 7, standing slightly behind, with the specific expression of someone assessing whether this was going to be all right. The girl looked up. She smiled, the particular smile of a child who has decided, without evidence, without reason, that this person is safe. The boy looked up. He did not smile. He assessed, and then, very slightly, he nodded. She looked at them. She felt something arrive in the place where she had put the word done. Something that was not done at all. She stepped back from the door. "Come in," she said. "All of you." Her name was Claire Ashworth. She was 36 years old and had been, for 7 of those years, the particular kind of person that sustained hope and sustained disappointment produce. When they occur simultaneously for long enough, someone who had become very good at continuing. Continuing was not the same as living fully. She knew this. She had become expert at continuing, at the specific daily management of a life that was full in most ways and empty in one specific way that she had decided 11 months ago on a Tuesday morning to stop fighting. Her husband Edward was patient. He was 41 and ran Ashworth Industries and loved her in the specific way of someone who had loved the same person for 12 years and had learned the precise geography of that person's grief and navigated it with the particular care of someone who understood that care was different from fixing. He could not fix it. She had not asked him to. The room at the end of the hall had been their agreement, not discussed, not announced. She had closed the door. He had not opened it. They had walked past it every morning on the way to the kitchen and had said nothing and had meant, in saying nothing, everything that needed to be said. The advertisement had been Edward's idea. The grounds need someone, he had said, properly. Someone who knows what they are doing. She had placed the advertisement on a Monday. On Wednesday afternoon, someone knocked. His name was Daniel Walsh. He was 34 years old and had been, for 3 of those years, everything: father, mother, provider, the specific everything of a single parent who had decided that everything was what the situation required and had applied himself to it completely. His wife Maya had died of cancer when Rosie was 1 and Noah was 4. He had been with her through all of it. The diagnosis, the treatment, the particular hope that treatment produces, and the particular devastation that follows. When hope runs out, he had arrived on the other side of it at 31 with 2 children, and the specific task of continuing. He had continued, not without difficulty. He examined this honestly, the way he tried to examine everything. There had been months that were very hard. There had been mornings when getting out of bed was the entire achievement of the day, and he had allowed himself to count it as such. But he had continued. Noah was now 7, serious, precise, the kind of child who processed things thoroughly before committing to them. He had his mother's eyes and his father's stubbornness and a specific quality of attention. That made adults feel, when he looked at them, that they were being read accurately. Rosie was 4, warm, quick, the particular energy of someone for whom the world was still primarily a source of delight. She had her stuffed elephant, Ellie, who had been present for every significant event of her life and whose opinion she consulted on most major decisions. He had found the advertisement on a Tuesday. He had come on Wednesday with his children, because the arrangement he usually had for the afternoons had not worked out, and because he did not want to miss the opportunity, and because, if he was honest, he had learned that bringing his children to interviews told him things about the people interviewing him that the interviews themselves did not. The woman who opened the door looked at his children, and he watched her face, and he understood, in the specific way of someone who had been paying attention to people's faces for 3 years, that whatever this woman had been carrying, his children had just landed on the exact place where she carried it. She made tea, not because she always made tea when people came. She did not. But because making tea was something to do with her hands. While she understood what was happening in her kitchen, which was that a 4-year-old had climbed onto her chair without asking, and was looking around with the comprehensive authority of someone who had decided this was where she was sitting. And a 7-year-old had sat across from his father with a book that he had produced from his bag, and was reading with the focused attention of someone who understood that adults needed time to talk. Her name is Rosie, Daniel said. And this is Noah. Hello, Claire said. Noah looked up from his book. He assessed her. Hello, he said, with the specific gravity of someone for whom greetings were not casual. Rosie held up her elephant. Ellie, she said. Hello, Ellie, Claire said. Rosie appeared satisfied. Daniel told her about his experience, 8 years of groundskeeping, 3 estates, a knowledge of plants and soil, and the specific requirements of different varieties that was, she understood within 10 minutes, genuine rather than performed. The roses along the east wall, he said. I saw them when I came up the drive. They're good varieties. Someone planted them knowing what they were doing. My mother, Claire said. 20 years ago. They need feeding, he said. The soil is compacted, but with the right attention they'd be extraordinary. Noah looked up from his book. He says that about everything, Noah said. With the right attention. It's usually true, Daniel said. It is, Noah confirmed, and went back to his book. Claire looked at the 7-year-old. She thought, this child is remarkable. She looked at the 4-year-old who was still sitting in her chair with Ellie. She thought, both of them are. When can you start? She said. He started on Thursday. She watched from the kitchen window on the first morning, not spying, or not only spying. She watched with the genuine interest of someone who had been told something about a garden and wanted to see if the telling matched the doing. It matched. He worked with the focused competence of someone who understood what they were looking at. Systematic, precise, the specific attention of someone for whom the work was the point. The children came on Thursdays. She had not expected this, had not thought to ask, which was information about how the Wednesday conversation had rearranged her expectations. But when Daniel arrived on Thursday morning with Noah walking beside him and Rosie on his hip, and the child-sized trowel in his bag, she found she had no objection. Rosie went immediately to the patch of soil near the garden wall and set up operations with the specific authority of someone who had identified her workspace. Noah came to find Claire. Do you have books? He said. Yes, she said. Can I look at them while Papa works? She showed him the library. Noah stood in the doorway and looked at the shelves with the expression of someone receiving something they had been hoping for. He spent 3 hours in the library. At noon she brought him a sandwich without asking. He looked at it, Thank you, he said. You cut it diagonally. Is that all right? It's correct, he said. Mum always cut it diagonally. Dad cuts it straight. He knows I prefer diagonal, but he always forgets. She looked at the 7-year-old. I'll remember, she said. He looked at her with the assessment. Yes, he said. I think you will. She went into the room on a Saturday. Not planned. She had been walking past it, as she walked past it every morning, and she stopped. And for the first time in 11 months she opened the door. The yellow walls, the crib, the particular stillness of somewhere that had been told to stop waiting. She sat on the floor. She thought about 7 years. She thought about done. She thought about a 4-year-old who had climbed onto her chair, and a 7-year-old who noticed diagonal sandwiches, and a man who said with the right attention about everything, because it was usually true. She thought about Rosie saying Ellie and holding up the elephant, with the complete certainty of someone making an introduction that mattered. She thought about Noah's assessment, the specific way he had looked at her, and then nodded slightly, as though she had passed something without being told there was a test. She was still on the floor when Edward came home. He found her there. He sat beside her without asking. There's a man, she said. Daniel. He started Thursday. He has 2 children. I know, Edward said. You told me. Noah noticed the diagonal sandwiches, she said. Edward was quiet. Claire, he said. I know, she said. I'm not saying anything. I went into the room. That's all. That's not nothing, he said. No, she said. It isn't. His name was Richard Crane. He was Edward's business partner. Had been for 15 years. The specific business partner who had been present for the building of Ashworth Industries and who had, over those 15 years, developed the particular confidence of someone who believed that proximity to success was the same as deserving it. He arrived on a Friday afternoon. Claire was in the garden with Rosie. They had fallen into the specific pattern of Friday afternoons in the garden, which had started because Rosie had found a snail and had needed someone to appreciate it with her, and Claire had been available and had appreciated it genuinely, and the pattern had established itself from there. Richard walked through the garden gate. He saw Daniel working on the roses. He saw Claire sitting cross-legged on the grass with a 4-year-old showing her something in a jar. He looked at this scene with the expression of someone who had decided what it meant before he had the information to support the decision. Claire, he said. She looked up. Richard, she said. Edward didn't mention you were coming. I was nearby, he said. He looked at Daniel. He looked at the children. He looked at Claire. Cozy, he said. This is Daniel, Claire said. He manages the grounds, and these are his children. Richard said. The specific of someone filing information they intend to use. He stayed for an hour. He spoke to Edward that evening. Claire was not in the room, but she heard it. The specific murmur of a conversation conducted at a volume calculated to be heard without being directly addressed. She heard enough. Edward told her on Sunday morning. Not because she asked, because Edward did not manage things by not saying them. Had learned over 12 years of marriage that not saying things was its own kind of damage. Richard thinks, he said, that you've become too attached to the groundskeeper's children. Claire looked at her. Coffee, Richard thinks, she said, that I am filling a void. Yes, Edward said. Is that what you think? Edward looked at his wife, at the woman who had been walking past a yellow room for 11 months, and had sat on its floor on Saturday, and had come out of it different. I think, he said, that you went into the room on Saturday, and that you came out of it different. Yes, she said. I think, he said, that Noah cuts his sandwiches diagonally and Rosie has an elephant named Ellie, and that you have been going into the garden on Friday afternoons for 3 weeks. Yes, she said. Claire, he said. Single quotes, yes. Richard is wrong, he said, about what this is. She looked at him. How do you know? She said. Because, he said, you are the most careful person I know. And careful people don't fill voids. They notice things worth noticing. She looked at her coffee. I noticed them, she said. Yes, he said. And they noticed you. He came to find her on a Monday, not in the library. She was in the kitchen, making the diagonal sandwiches that had become, without announcement, the Monday lunch. He stood in the kitchen doorway with the specific quality of someone who had something to say and was deciding how to say it. Claire, he said. Single quotes, yes. I want to ask you something, he said, and I want you to answer honestly. All right, she said. Are you going to keep being here? He said. In the Fridays, and the sandwiches, and the garden. She looked at him. I'd like to, she said. If that's all right with you. He considered this with the thoroughness he brought to everything important. It's all right with me, he said. I want to tell you why. Tell me, she said. Because, he said, Rosie needs someone. Not instead of Dad. Dad is everything. But someone who notices the snails and appreciates the elephant and cuts the sandwiches correctly. He paused. And because I need someone to. Even if I don't show it the same way. You don't have to show it, she said. I know, he said. That's why I'm telling you. She looked at the 7-year-old in her kitchen doorway. No, she said. Single quotes, yes. Thank you, she said, for telling me. You're welcome, he said. The sandwiches are ready. She said it on a Tuesday morning. Not to Claire, to herself, in the specific way of 4-year-olds who narrate their experience without self-consciousness, conducting a running commentary on the world as they move through it. She was looking for something, moving through the kitchen with the focused search of someone who knew what they wanted and was going to find it. Mama, she said. Where is Ellie? She had not noticed she said it. Claire had noticed. She found Ellie on the windowsill, where she always was, where Rosie always left her, and she gave her to Rosie without saying anything about the word. Rosie took Ellie and went to the garden. Claire stood at the windowsill for a moment. Daniel came into the kitchen for water. He looked at her face. She said it, he said. Yes, Claire said. I heard, he said, quietly. I was in the hall. She looked at the garden where Rosie was telling Ellie something important. Daniel, she said. Single quotes, yes. I need to tell you something, she said, that I should have said before. She told him. The 7 years, the treatments, the room at the end of the hall, the word done. He listened the way he listened to everything. Completely. The room, he said. You went in. On Saturday, she said. For the first time in 11 months. What changed? He said. She looked at the garden. Wednesday, she said. When you knocked, Edward found Daniel in the garden on a Thursday evening. Not to confront. Edward was not a confrontational person and understood that the situation did not require confrontation. It required honesty, which was different. Daniel, he said. Mr. Ashworth, Daniel said. Edward, he said. Please. They stood in the garden in the particular evening light of a Thursday. You know, Edward said. What's happening? Yes, Daniel said. What do you think about it? Daniel looked at the roses, at the east wall roses that were responding to attention and were going to be extraordinary in spring. I think, he said, that my children needed someone and found her. And I think she needed them and found them. He paused, and he stopped. You think you needed her to, Edward said. Daniel looked at him. I wasn't looking for anything, he said. I came about the job. I know, Edward said. I had a CV, Daniel said. Yes, Edward said. And 2 children I probably shouldn't have brought. Daniel said. I'm glad you brought them, Edward said. Daniel looked at him. Edward, he said. Yes. What do you want me to do? He said. Edward looked at the house, at the lit kitchen window where Claire was making something, where Noah was reading at the table, where Rosie's drawings had appeared on the refrigerator next to a card that said for Claire in careful 4-year-old handwriting. I want, Edward said, what Claire wants, which is what she's been walking past a yellow room to get to for 7 years. He looked at Daniel. I just want to know that you understand what this is. I understand, Daniel said. Good, Edward said. Edward, Daniel said. Yes, she cut Noah's sandwiches diagonally. Daniel said, the first day. Without being asked. Yes, Edward said. He told me, Daniel said. That night, he said. Dad. She remembered. Edward looked at the kitchen window. Yes, he said. She would. She showed it to them on a Sunday. Not planned, Rosie had asked, on her 4th visit to the house, why that door was always closed. And Noah had looked up from his book with the specific attention of someone who had also wondered, and had not asked. Because, Claire said, it had something in it that I wasn't ready for. Are you ready now? Rosie said. Claire looked at the door. She looked at Noah. He was looking at her with the assessment, the one that had told her, on the first day, that she had passed something without being told there was a test. He nodded slightly. She opened the door. Yellow walls, the crib. Rosie walked in. She looked at everything with the comprehensive attention she brought to new spaces. She looked at the crib. This was for a baby, she said. Yes, Claire said. The baby didn't come, Rosie said. No, Claire said. That's sad, Rosie said. Simply. Because it was true and true things were worth saying. Yes, Claire said. It is. Rosie looked at the yellow walls. I like yellow, she said. It's the happy color. That's why I chose it, Claire said. Noah had come to stand beside Claire. He did not say anything. He took her hand. Not dramatically, simply. The specific gesture of someone who understood that some moments required presence rather than words. She held his hand. She thought about 7 years. She thought about done. She thought, I was wrong about done. Claire, Rosie said. Single quotes yes. The room isn't sad, Rosie said. It's just waiting. Yes, Claire said. It was. Then, Rosie said, with the practical certainty she brought to all conclusions, it must be very glad we came in. The room changed. Not immediately. Nothing real happened immediately. But gradually, in the specific way of things that grow when conditions are right and nobody is forcing them. Rosie's drawings appeared on the yellow wall, not replacing anything, added to it. Bright colors and specific subjects. The garden, the roses, Claire, Noah, Daniel, Ellie. The particular art of someone who drew the things that mattered. The crib remained, not untouched. Rosie had asked if she could put Ellie in it sometimes, and Claire had said yes, and Ellie had spent several afternoons in the crib with the dignity of someone occupying an important position. Noah had brought his books. He had asked, on the 3rd Sunday, if he could keep some of them in the room, so they're here when I come. Claire had said yes. The shelf beside the crib now had 7 of Noah's books on it, arranged with the specific precision of someone who believed books deserved proper placement. Daniel had asked nothing. He had given time the respect it required and had been present without demanding anything of the presents. Edward had watched. He had watched Claire come out of the garden on Friday afternoons, with the specific quality of someone who had put down something they had been carrying. He had watched her in the kitchen on Monday mornings with the diagonal sandwiches. He had watched her stand at the door of the yellow room and not need to lean against the frame anymore. He had thought, this is what she needed. He had thought, I could not give her this, and I'm glad she found it. He had thought, love is not always the thing you provide. Sometimes it is the thing you make room for. She had stopped counting. The appointments, the treatments, the hope that arrived and left for 7 years. She had closed the room. Then someone knocked. A man with a CV. 2 children. A 4-year-old with an elephant. A 7-year-old who assessed and nodded. She stepped back from the door. Come in. All of you. Here is what we learned. Done is not always done. Sometimes done is just the last thing you said before the knock came. The family you are waiting for does not always arrive the way you planned. Sometimes it arrives with a stuffed elephant and a diagonal sandwich and a 7-year-old who takes your hand in a yellow room without being asked. Rosie said, the room isn't sad. It's just waiting. She was 4 years old. She was completely right. Noah said, I need someone to, even if I don't show it the same way. He was 7 years old. He was completely right. The door was closed for 11 months. It was not locked. Leave the door unlocked. You never know who is about to knock. That is everything.